up, guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 1971 Volkswagen Super Beetle. Behind me is a 1.6-liter air-cooled flat 4. Down below is a 4-speed manual transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Super Beetle because I've reviewed one of these old Beetles here before on the channel in 1970. But that wasn't a Super Beetle. The Super Beetles was a little bit larger and introduced for 1971. And so it retained everything about the regular Beetle while being just a few percentages bigger. And that's good for me because I did not fit in that 1970 Beetle pretty much at all. But I fit very handsomely here in the Super Beetle. So I'm excited to share with you another vintage Beetle, but in a little bit more comfort. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpratel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 1.6-liter, better known as the 1600, which was considered a very large engine for the Beetle at the time. You could also find them with 1.3s, but this is the 1.6, making somewhere in the high 50s, low 60s of horsepower. It's not anything shocking, but at the time it was a nice welcome upgrade. Like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed manual, pretty clicky into gear. The shift pattern is a little bit odd, kind of like an older Renault, where it's sort of at a diagonal, but you pick it up pretty easily, and it's easy to drive. Last but not least about the drivetrain, of course it is a Beetle, so it is rear-wheel drive. How does it feel to drive a Super Beetle? Well, it's actually quite lovely. Now, I will be honest, this particular Super Beetle's suspension is very, very worn out, almost in a cartoonish amount. However, that actually gives it a very smooth ride. Now, I can't comment on how it rode back in 1971, but here today, I've actually really enjoyed the ride quality. It's not fast, it's still just a Beetle, no matter how super the name might suggest. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have one gauge. I do have my fuel and speedometer mixed into one, but that's it. To the left of the gauge would be a speaker. However, this one has had it removed, so not much going on there. And on the steering wheel, we have the Wolfsburg logo, which I've always loved, and the horn ring for the horn that still does, in fact, work. Yeah, baby! On the door, we have a smoker's window, crank for the window, latch you get in and out, and that's it. Moving into the center, we do have some heating options and headlight options, as well as our venting options, our radio, shift pattern on the ashtray, cigarette lighter, and our emergency flashers. And moving down into the center, we have a shifter. We also have a handbrake down in the center, meaning we don't get any factory cup holders here back in 1971. So, unfortunately, yet very predictably, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. The seats are decently comfy and bouncy, and I think that does help out with the ride quality quite a bit. And they are not made of horsehair like the previous Beetle that I reviewed, so in the rain, it doesn't smell like a stable inside the Super Beetle. Very nice amenity, I guess. However, speaking of seats, we still do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, getting in the back of the Super Beetle. I tell you what, I'm not feeling very super about this. I'll tell you that much for free. I'm also not feeling terrible about it. I fit back here, not super comfortably. I wouldn't say I'm particularly happy about it, but I fit. Now, are my ankles still gonna light on fire because that's the only heater outlet is down by my ankles because the engine? Yes, of course. But I wouldn't mind riding back here short distances. It wouldn't be terrible. I don't mind it that much. Let's hop out and hop around the front of the Beetle to talk about the trunk and cargo space. All right, around the front of the Volkswagen Beetle. So, little button here. Just pull it on up, and there you go. So we do have a front spare tire, as well as the fuel tank is right up front as well. A little filler right there. One thing I do want to note is that you'll see this little line that should be connected. I'm not going to, but should be connected. That runs to the washer fluid. So in order to spray your windows to get mud and muck off of it, like any modern car, you have little windshield wiper sprayers. Very nice. However, it is powered not by a mechanism, but by the air inside the spare tire. So if you wash your windows enough, you will run your spare tire out of air, and if you need it, you're not gonna have it. So kind of an ingenious idea on how to make something work without a motor or electronics. However, there is a downside, so you would have to keep filling up your spare tire with air. They recommend, I think it's like every oil change, you fill it up with air, whatever. But just something to keep in mind. I'm sure at some point in history, someone has gotten a flat in their Beetle and then pulled this out and realized, oh, the spare is flat as well. Very, very fun, but that is the front trunk of the Volkswagen Super Beetle. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and first of all, I love the baby blue. If I were to ever buy a Beetle, which is high on my purchase list at some point, I want it in this color. I absolutely adore it with my heart, soul, and being. However, something very interesting for the 1971 Super Beetle, and this was only for the first 2 model years of the Super Beetle, is that it actually got a completely flat windshield. When they later moved on, they added a curved windshield. So if you're trying to pick one out of a crowd and you're looking for a 1971, look for that flat windshield up front. Kind of an interesting little design quirk that went away quick. And of course, with the exterior, no one can hate a Beetle. It's the least offensive car ever made. You just want to snuggle up with it and watch a movie, or maybe even Netflix and chill, depending on how you feel. But either way, I love the look of the Beetle, and it'll always be a classic in my mind. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving this Beetle? Well, I do have to peel back the curtain just a little bit. Right before I made this video, I drove a 1976 Trabant 601, another people's car from Germany of the same decade. Now, Germany at the time was split between West Germany and East Germany. East Germany, where the Trabant was built, was communist. And so they had very strict rules against cars. They were mass-produced. They don't have to care about what you want, what you feel, what you need. You should be lucky that you're getting a car at all. And that's what the Trabant was. But on the other side of the wall, Volkswagen was making these. And so it's interesting to see the differences between the governments in East and West Germany in the 1970s and what they were allowing on their roads. This also has an air-cooled engine and a 4-speed manual, but this actually gets a 4-stroke engine. This has a radio. This has climate controls, and you could find these with air conditioning, even though this particular one doesn't. This car cared about ride quality. It cared about its looks. It was styled. This car is a cartoon character on its own, where the Trabant was filled with joy because of the owners that drove it that had never experienced an automobile. Well, this Beetle brings the 6-pack to the party. This car brings the party. It brings the fun. It brings the emotion. No assembly required. This is a good time automobile that was friendly and economical. These were reliable. They still are reliable. They'll never spill coolant down your driveway. And this is just exhibit A, B, and C of how much better the West was than the East in this time period. This car went on to global success, here in America especially, but overseas as well, where the Trabant was squandered, it was hidden, it was spit on and made ashamed of. The Trabant and the Beetle were 2 twins separated at birth. One of them was given the Richie Rich life, and one of them was given the Annie Hard Knock life. And so today, I'm driving Richie Rich, and I could not be more happy to be doing so. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Carl and Otto for letting me take out their Beetle, especially Otto. They have been absolutely wonderful. They also own the Trabant that I drove and featured in this video. So huge thank you to them for letting me take that vehicle out as well, that you already saw here on the channel. So go check out that video. It'll be linked at the end. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.